Uncovering the dark post-black moon, 7 shocking symptoms that haunt you tonight. The night was thick with an unsettling tension. Beneath an ominous black moon, shadows morphed into figures, dancing in the half-light. Fear swept through the small town of Willow Creek like a wave as stories circulated of strange happenings. Whispers filled the air, eerie voices echoing through the woods, lights flickering in abandoned homes, and an unshakable dread settling deep in people's chests. Some claimed they saw ghostly faces staring back from the darkness, eyes wide and hollow, as if they were warning of something unspeakable. Every corner felt haunted, every rustle ignited the pulse of suspense that a rare phenomenon had struck Willow Creek, something darker than the night itself. The post-black moon symptoms were sweeping through the town like an unseen disease. One man, Jim, awoke to find his body covered in unexplainable markings, bruises blooming like flowers of dread across his skin. They felt hot to the touch, seeping into his bones, tightening his chest with each breath. Rumors started to swirl about losing one's shadow. Those who wandered too far sometimes returned, dragging their own darkness behind them, a void shadow that thirsted for chaos. With each passing day, more townsfolk succumbed to these bizarre manifestations. Sarah, a baker known for her sweet demeanor, suddenly began speaking in riddles, her laughter echoing with a sinister undertone. Friends watched in horror as her face contorted, twisting her once kind smile into something monstrous. The bakery's doorbell rang incessantly, a sound that once brought joy, now sent chills down spines. Was it just the stress of the mysterious events, or was something truly otherworldly invading their lives? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Yet, the pinnacle of fear hadn't revealed itself. Witnesses reported hearing loud thumps reverberating through their homes, like someone or something was trying to break in. A white rabbit, glossy fur glimmering under the moonlight, darted across the shocked faces of those watching. It stopped, staring at them with eyes that glowed unsettlingly bright before it vanished into thin air, leaving questions and racing hearts behind. What did it mean? Was there a warning in its fleeting appearance? Or perhaps it was an omen. The fear deepened, clinging to the townsfolk like a dense fog as they turned to one another for answers. As night fell again, the whispers grew louder, mingling with the oppressive black moon hanging above, urging them closer to the edge of sanity. What lay ahead? An answer, or something darker waiting to pounce? They had no choice but to confront the shadows creeping into their lives and discover what truly haunted Willow Creek. The suffocating air of uncertainty hung heavy in Willow Creek. With every sunset, a new wave of terror washed over the residents. The night marched in with its cloak of darkness, and with it, the shadows sharpened, twisting into shapes that made the townsfolk's skin crawl. Each mysterious occurrence added layers to the sinister tapestry of their reality. Had everyone's sanity become the price of survival? In the town square, a crowd had gathered, their faces strained with anxiety. They barely spoke above whispers, sharing tales of dread that slipped from their lips like muted screams. "Did you hear the thumps again?" one woman asked, her voice trembling. Nods of agreement circulated. Others shivered at the rustle of leaves, their bodies flinching at the slightest sound. They weren't just whispers but haunting questions. Who would be next? Would they, too, wake one morning, marked by the darkness? Suddenly, a loud bang shattered the tense stillness. It came from the old church, its doors swung open by an unseen force. The congregation gasped as Father Frank stumbled outside. He was wild-eyed, his clothes torn. "They're coming for us!" he shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of fear. "I saw them. They lurk in the shadows where light cannot touch." He clutched his head as if the truth was too heavy to bear, his breath labored as he tried to catch the attention of a bewildered crowd. "Father, what are you talking about?" shouted a man from the back. His skepticism hung thick like fog, but it couldn't disguise the flicker of fright beneath it. "Shadows," Frank rasped, sweat coating his brow. "They're hungry. They devour your will, your soul. You think it's just fear? It's worse. They're taking us, piece by piece." The crowd shuffled, their collective fright morphing into palpable panic. Chills raced down their spines as images of shadowy figures creeping toward their homes haunted their thoughts. What if Frank was right? What if their shadows were already slipping away to join the darkness? Farther down the street, Jim stood at the entrance of the alley where odd markings first appeared on his skin. Unable to resist the pull of morbid curiosity, he stepped into it. Each cautious step seemed to echo in the still night air. The shadows seemed to beckon him closer, whispering tangled secrets that prickled at his resolve. "Come meet the truth," they seemed to whisper. Jim swallowed hard, his pulse quickening. He could almost feel the heat radiating from the marks that dotted his arms. Whatever had started as a mark had transformed into a fiery need to know more, then suddenly, two piercing lights cut through the darkness behind him. He turned, heart racing, only to find the white rabbit standing at the alley's entrance. Its eyes were alive with an unnatural glow, and it began to hop slowly away, glancing back as if to say, "Follow if you dare." He hesitated, panic gripping him. But something deeper, a predatory desire, urged him to pursue. Without thinking, he dashed after the elusive creature, leaving the safe haven of the streetlight behind. As he plunged deeper into the shadows, the atmosphere thickened, wrapping around him like a coil of dread. The desperation to uncover the mystery clawed at his insides. But would the answers he sought lead to salvation or destruction? Meanwhile, back in the square, the crowd erupted into chaos, fear rendering them frantic as shadows danced menacingly around them. "We have to find him," someone shouted, a sense of urgency mingling with terror. As panic spread like wildfire, the true horror loomed just beneath the surface. The black moon cast a long, eerie glow over Willow Creek, and as the shadows encroached, it became clear, the night was just beginning. What awaited Jim in the pitch-black abyss? Would he emerge with answers, or would he become yet another victim claimed by the darkness lurking beneath the post-black moon? The air in the alley was stifling, each breath heavier than the last. Jim's heart raced as he chased the glowing rabbit deeper into the darkness. The shadows shifted around him, a swirling mass of promise and peril. He had to know what lay beyond the veil. He had to confront whatever twisted fate awaited him. With every hop, the rabbit seemed to lead him farther from the light, the world behind him fading to muffled noise. But the allure of the unknown pulled him like a magnet. He slammed into an unseen wall of air, the darkness thick enough to taste, and he paused, taking in his surroundings. "Where are you?" he called out, his voice echoing into the void. Silence wrapped around him like a blanket. Then he noticed the walls, the markings, glowing faintly like embers. Each symbol pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, and beneath the surface, he felt a strange energy thrumming. It matched the frantic beat of his heart, almost as if they were connected. He hesitated, his fingertips hovering over the vibrant lines. If he touched them, what would happen? Would he understand the terror consuming his town, or would it consume him instead? From behind him, a low, guttural sound crept into his awareness, reverberating through the ground. It sent ice coursing through his veins. Spinning around, he squinted into the darkness. Shapes loomed, barely visible but unmistakably human. "Jim!" a voice called out, piercing the stillness. It was Sarah, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. "You shouldn't be here." "Sarah!" He could hardly believe it. "What are you doing?" "Looking for you. We need to leave now." She stepped closer, but the shadows flickered, cracking with energy. A sickening chill washed over him. "Did you see them?" he whispered, glancing back at the drawings on the walls, his breath hitching in his throat. "The shadows, they're alive." "I don't know what they are," Sarah replied, desperation coloring her voice. But Father Frank was right. They're everywhere. We're losing ourselves to them. Just then, a deafening roar echoed through the alley. The ground trembled, and the symbols glowed brighter, twisting into grotesque animations. Shapes writhed and turned, taking form dark figures, stretching and elongating, creeping closer in a hungry, ravenous dance. Jim grabbed Sarah's arm, mind racing. We have to face them. If we don't confront this, whatever this is, we'll never be free. Are you crazy? She shot back, pulling away. Fear flashed in her eyes as she looked back at the encroaching shadows. You want to go toward them? But the decision was made. Something deep inside urged him to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. He felt it, like a fire calling from the darkness. With a swift motion, Jim pulled Sarah along, both of them moving toward the writhing mass of shadows. The energy around them intensified, each step causing the ground to pulse beneath their feet, almost alive. As they approached, the lead shadow darkened, revealing a tall, slender silhouette that exuded both dread and allure. It stepped into the flickering light from the symbols, its eyes glowing with an unnatural fire. Welcome, new souls. We've been waiting. Terror gripped Jim's heart as he met its gaze. A sense of foreboding washed over him. Had they stumbled into a trap? Or was this the moment they would uncover the secrets that chained Willow Creek? In fear, every instinct screamed to flee, but curiosity, the same trait that had driven him here, surged through him. What do you want? He demanded, voice firm despite the quaking in his limbs. The figure grinned, revealing sharp, glistening teeth. What do we want? It echoed. Only what you're willing to give. As Sarah's breath hitched beside him, Jim felt the shadows pressing in, a whisper on the wind. Run or stay, your fate is sealed either way. Choose wisely. What choice would they make? Would they dare confront the darkness or succumb to the shadows that threatened to engulf them forever? The figure before them was like a nightmare come to life, a grotesque mockery of humanity. Jim's heart thundered in his chest, each beat a reminder of the perilous line they were treading. The air shimmered as the shadows twisted, hungry tendrils reaching out as if to ensnare them. Jim! We can't. We have to go. Sarah's voice trembled, but her feet remained rooted. Fear iced her features, the glow from the symbols casting eerie shadows across her skin. We need answers. He shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. This, whatever this is, could be the key to saving everyone. The figure's smile widened, a predatory gleam in its eyes. Such bravery or madness, it said, its voice smooth like silk yet laced with malice. But know this, the truth comes with a price. A chilling wind swept through the alley, whispering secrets and dread. Jim staggered back, feeling a strange pull, an energy that wrapped around him like a serpent. He looked at Sarah, whose eyes reflected sheer terror and disbelief. Do you trust me? He asked, forcing himself to sound more confident than he felt. I don't know. She shook her head, uncertainty flickering behind her eyes. This isn't right. It's not safe here. But Jim's gaze locked onto the glowing symbols on the wall. They resonated with something deep within him. We can't walk away without knowing. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, their grip tightening around Sarah's legs. She screamed, her voice piercing through the chaos. Jim lunged forward, grabbing her wrist just as the dense darkness threatened to swallow her whole. Stay with me. He yelled, the shadows trying to pull her further into their darkness. The figure stepped closer, its elongated fingers stretching out, inches from Jim's face. I can offer you clarity, boy. A glimpse into what lies before you in exchange for what you truly value. Get away from her. Jim shouted, drawing Sarah closer. But as the shadows flickered around them, he could feel their energy permeating his skin, invading his thoughts. Your fears, your desires, they mean nothing to the shadows. Its voice twisted, curling around the syllables like smoke. But I can help you harness the power they offer. Give in, and you will understand. Give in. Jim felt like he was standing on a precipice, the weight of the choice crushing him. What do we have to lose? Our souls. Ah, souls are but gentle flickers among the fires of ambition. The figure laughed softly, the sound chilling. You'll find giving up your fears can lead to great strength. But at what cost? Sarah whispered, her voice breaking, tears pooling in her eyes. The darkness surged, intensifying with each heartbeat, each breath feeling heavier. Jim glanced at the flickering symbols, seeing faces twisted with agony, screams trapped in the lines. For a moment, uncertainty pulsed through him. Could he really trust what lay ahead? Jim, do something. Sarah pleaded, panic rising that he swallowed hard, adrenaline coursing through him. No. I want to let it take us. As if sensing his resolve, the shadows recoiled, only to surge forward again, darkness clashing against defiance. The shimmering symbols pulsated wildly, and a deep sound erupted from the depths of the alley, mixing fear with fierce determination. Decide before the hourglass runs dry. The figure hissed, its patience waning. Jim stood firm, his chest tight, uncertainty swirling in overwhelming dread. The shadows tugged at his very essence, whispering promises of power, truth wrapped in deception. One truth struck him: time was slipping away. We have to choose. Now. But the decision hung in the air like a guillotine, waiting to drop. Would they accept the figure's dark offer, or would they fight back against an inseparable fate? Ahead lay an unseen path, yet the shadows writhed, restless, eager for the choice to be made. Fear mingled with a growing resolve as Jim squeezed Sarah's hand tightly. Would they plunge into the darkness or find a way to shatter its hold forever? The question filled the air, a weight that threatened to devour them whole. The shadows lunged once more, their tendrils seeking to envelop Jim and Sarah, pulling at them with a force that felt almost alive. A guttural growl emanated from the figure, its smile twisting into something grotesque, as if feeding off their fear. Just say the word, it taunted, and you can have it all. Power, knowledge, freedom from your fears. The word freedom sang out like a siren's call, echoing in the darkest crevices of Jim's mind. But as that pitch hung in the air, he felt the weight of it. Freedom could come at a cost: his soul, maybe even Sarah's. No. He shouted defiantly. We want to be a part of this. The figure's laughter melded with the cacophony of the shadows, a sound that was both enticing and horrifying. Naive little boy. You think you can simply reject what is offered? You're already trapped. Don't you feel it? The shadows whispering your deepest secrets, your hidden desires. They know you better than you know yourself. Jim's heart raced. He could hear the whispers, feel his thoughts being nudged to the surface. Flashes of his past echoed inside his head, moments filled with regret, fear, unfulfilled dreams. They pressed against him like heavy stones, and he fought to hold them at bay. Sarah. He turned to her, desperation scratching at his throat. Focus on me. Don't let them in. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she trembled, caught in a battle between her instincts and the dark allure of the figure's offer. What if he's right? What if we could? Don't say it. Jim's voice cut through the murky air, raw with urgency. We can't trust him. We'll drown in this darkness if we do. In that moment, the shadows tightened further, and Sarah gasped as the cold grasp of fear choked her breath. Jim! She cried, pulling away slightly, but he refused to let her go, his grip tightening with more resolve than he knew he possessed. Then let go of your fear. The figure hissed, the shadows flaring like wild flames hungry for fuel. Let me show you the path to power. A glimpse into what lies ahead, the truth of your world. Time itself felt twisted and slow. The dark figure's eyes bored into Jim, a confluence of menace and allure. The swirling chaos of shadows grew louder, and with it came the acrid stench of despair and defeat. He could see the corner of the alley shift, the glowing symbols flickering like fireflies struggling against the dark. Choose. The figure's voice rose, echoing like 1,000 tortured souls. Your time is almost up. Jim felt the sweat bead at his brow, panic clawing at the edges of his mind. Everything was piling up too fast, and he knew they needed to act. Together. He yelled, pulling Sarah close again. We'll face this. Together. Taking a deep breath, he squeezed her hand harder, feeling the warmth of her resolve bleed into his. On the count of 3, he said, his voice low but steady, we run. No looking back, no hesitation. Just trust. Trust, Sarah whispered, her eyes searching his for reassurance. 1. The shadows pulsed, swirling dangerously around them, a cyclone of dread. 2. The grotesque figure inched closer, anticipating their next move, its chilling presence looming like a storm. 3. They bolted, adrenaline surging through their veins. Jim's mind screamed that running into the unknown was risky, but staying meant surrender. As they sprinted into the darkness, the shadows clawed at their backs, and the figure's laughter echoed menacingly. Did they dare step beyond their fears, or would the darkness swallow them whole? Just past the edge of the alley, a flicker of light gleamed in the distance, a beacon wrapped in the unfathomable shadows, beckoning them forward. Would it lead them to safety or deeper into the abyss? The choice crackled electric in the air, igniting fresh terror and wild hope. The chase was far from over. They sprinted towards the flickering light, its glow pulsating like a heartbeat. Each step felt heavier, the shadows thrumming around them, eager to reclaim their prey. Jim could feel the darkness grazing his skin, like icy fingers brushing against his arms. Don't look back, he urged Sarah, his voice cutting through the oppressive gloom. The light grew brighter as they approached. It wasn't a streetlight or a beacon from a distant home, it was a shimmering portal of silver and gold, pulsating with energy that felt strangely alive. Jim and Sarah reached it, panting and teetering on the brink of belief and despair. Is this safe? Sarah hesitated, her fingers twitching away from Jim's hold. What if it leads us deeper into it? Do we really have a choice? Jim gasped, pain shooting through his legs as they came to a halt. Panic seeped into his core as he turned, the guttural growls echoing behind them. Shadows coiled like wolves, ravenous and waiting. We stepped through together, he declared, panting. We can't let him win. Sarah's eyes locked onto his. You're right. She didn't look back, her trust in him sealing the uncertainty in her heart. They jumped into the luminous portal. The moment they crossed the threshold, everything exploded in a cacophony of light and sound. Laughter morphed into cries of anguish, joy twisted into despair. They were flung into a kaleidoscope of vivid colors that spun them like leaves in a storm. Suddenly, they landed heavily on what felt like solid ground, but the air around them was thick, charged with energy, heavy with expectation. They were no longer surrounded by the alley's oppressive shadows. Instead, they were in a vast, ethereal space, pulsating with colors they had never seen before. It was beautiful yet frightening, a place that seemed to exist outside of time. What is this place? Sarah whispered, awestruck that a booming voice came from nowhere and everywhere. Welcome to the Undercroft, where truth and illusion intertwine. Jim's gut twisted. What do you want from us? He shouted, the remnants of fear coursing through his veins. Want? The voice echoed, unfurling like fog. You needn't ask what we want. It is you who desires something more than what the shadows offer. Desires? Sarah echoed, confusion lacing her voice. What do you know of our desires? Everything, the voice replied, chilling them to the bone. You, child of loyalty, seek to protect. You, child of ambition, seek to fulfill that which your heart cannot forget. Embrace it. Embrace your desperate ambitions, and you will achieve what you desire. Everything in Jim screamed to resist, yet why did the voice resonate so deeply? That push to claim victory, to shatter the darkness that haunted his thoughts, was that all it took? It's a trap. He fumed, shaking his head. We can't trust this. Can you truly separate your desires from the shadows? The voice taunted, a hint of amusement threading through its tone. The greatest fears tend to bear a fruit of equal power. Behold! In the center of their fantastical landscape, images began to materialize, visions of their past lives, blurry yet vivid. There were moments of fear and triumph, rejection and acceptance. Jim saw the face of his father, disappointment and anger etched into every line. Sarah found herself reliving memories of isolation, and each fragment conjured tears. No! Jim shouted in protest, desperation fueling his voice. We don't need to see this. Or perhaps the voice infused with something darker, you need to confront it. Sarah gasped, her face pale. What if we can't face it? What if we lose ourselves? Choose. The voice boomed, hauntingly melodic. Face your collective truths or be swept away in the tide of your deepest fears. The light dimmed and the laughter returned, echoing around them like a chant. The shadows from the alley rushed back as phantoms of their worst day, revealing themselves in grotesque detail. It was a battle of the mind, a wrestling match with the fears they had locked away. Were they truly ready to confront the darkness inside? Was the cost of freedom about to be paid? In full. In that moment, as shadows loomed and doubt seeped deeper into their hearts, Jim looked at Sarah. Her eyes held unyielding strength and fear, a fragile alliance forged in the heat of anguish. Together? He whispered, his resolve mingling with dread. Together, she replied, squeezing his hand tight. As the darkness enveloped them once more, they took a step forward. But what awaited them beyond the next corner was a truth that twisted into something unimaginable. The atmosphere around them shifted, as if the very air crackled with electric tension. Jim and Sarah stood at the precipice of their own nightmares, shadows almost breathing down their necks, chattering like sinister whispers weaving through the undercroft. Face your truths, the voice echoed, dripping with mockery, each word like a pebble dropped into the abyss, rippling fear through their bodies. As they gripped each other's hands, the chaos morphed around them. The memories swelled, rising into full view. Jim staggered back, the images crashing into him like a tidal wave of despair. Do you see, Jim? His father's voice called out, an accusatory rasp cutting through his shield of courage. You will never be enough. You'll always disappoint. The scene blurred, shifting. Suddenly, he was back in school, hearing the laughter, the teasing voices that rang like bells of judgment. Failure, rejection, his own spiraling shame danced before him in grotesque movement. A pit formed in his stomach as he relived it all, the echoes impossible to silence. Stop it! He screamed, desperation tinging his voice. No more. Face it. The voice roared back. Do you crave freedom, or will you remain a prisoner of your own creation? Sarah's expression contorted with anguish as her own memories materialized. She saw herself alone on the playground, forgotten by her classmates, her heart breaking each time she was left out. Isolation wrapped around her like chains, binding her to a past that left scars. What did we do to deserve this? She shouted, desperation and defiance intertwining in her tone. Everything, the voice replied smoothly, a chilling calmness in its sinister proclamation. You built this cage, and only you can break free. They stumbled through the chaos, facing the haunting fragments of their lives, their past failures converging like specters draining their strength. A malicious hum filled the air, mocking them with every step forward. Together, we can do this. Jim urged, trying to fortify Sarah's wavering confidence. Remember the light. The portal. We can fight. Yet the shadows danced with eagerness, licking at their resolve, taunting them with memories they struggled to rewrite. I wish I had stood up, Sarah murmured, shame painted across her face. I wish I had. Her voice caught in her throat, the weight of unfulfilled aspirations dragging her down. Jim felt a surge of anger mixed with sadness for her. Then let us change it. Here, now. He clenched his fists, as if defiance could rewrite history. A worthy desire, the voice crooned, but do you have the strength to bear it? Once you confront the truth, it becomes your burden to carry. The laughter rose again, shrill and unsettling, spiraling through the air like broken glass. No. Jim shouted, stepping forward. I want to let you take her. I want to let you consume us. As he charged ahead into the storm of visions, the shadows recoiled momentarily, contorting back. In that fleeting space, a glimmer of hope ignited within him, flickering wildly against the chokehold of darkness. Together they locked eyes, an unbreakable bond forged through suffering. Even amidst their fears, their hearts echoed a shared beat, a faint pulse of courage, a determination that surged through their veins. Let us break it. They shouted in unison, their voices trembling yet resolute. As they stepped deeper into the swirling maelstrom of light and shadow, something began to crack. A glimmer of space opened up before them, a potential path layered with colors shifting like the dawn, but just as their hope shimmered brighter, an icy wind rushed in, threatening to snuff out the flame they had ignited. What lies ahead? A sinister echo whispered ominously. Will you dare to delve deeper, into truths more horrid than you can possibly imagine? With their hearts racing and burdens heavy, they took one deep breath. What awaited them could either seal their fates or free them altogether. As they plunged deeper into the radiant storm, Jim's heart pounded in his chest. The shadows writhed like angry snakes, and he felt their cold grasp trying to pull him back, to trap him in the familiar agony of his past battles. Stay close. He shouted over the cacophony. He could feel Sarah's hand trembling in his, a reminder of their fragile bond through the darkness. The swirling vortex pulsated with energy, colors bending like surreal brushstrokes, each hue mingling with dread. The warmth of hope felt like a distant ember in a storm, flickering but not yet extinguished. Suddenly, the scenes around them shifted once more. Jim was now standing in his childhood living room. It felt all too real. The smell of burnt toast wafted through the air, keeping time with the chaos. A pot on the stove hissed as he watched his mother standing in front of the kitchen counter, her back turned to him. Mama? He called hesitantly. But she didn't respond. Instead, her form contorted, morphing into a shadowy figure that swelled and pulsed with menace. You left me. It hissed, the voice dripping with venom and hurt. You chose to run away. Stop it. Jim roared, clenching his fists. The unresolved guilt tightened around him, squeezing at his chest. He refused to concede to the shadows. You're not real. Am I not? The shadow laughed, an eerie sound that echoed through the room. You buried me deep, didn't you? Just like you buried your father's words. But I am here, Jim, I will always be here. You cannot escape the truth. The laughter reverberated, ricocheting off the walls like a death knell. Panic clawed at his insides as he struggled to maintain his footing. He could feel Sarah's warmth slipping away. Jim. Her voice pierced through the claustrophobic darkness, desperate. I can't breathe. Fight it, Sarah. He shouted back, forcing every ounce of strength into his voice. He locked his gaze onto her, focusing on the light they had seen earlier. We're stronger, together. But it was hard to ignore the fear gnawing at his resolve as he watched the shadows wrap tighter around her. He felt the despair rising in him, threatening to consume him like it had done before. Let her go. Jim felt rage bloom inside him, pushing him to act. He charged forward, fists raised, adrenaline coursing through his veins. You think brute force will save you? The shadow taunted. You're still trapped in your own mind. The room trembled, and as Jim reached Sarah, he grabbed her shoulders, shaking her lightly. Wake up. Remember the portal. We have to tap into our truth. Her eyes flickered with recognition, but doubt still lingered. What if it just leads us deeper into this darkness? What if facing it only destroys us? He hesitated, uncertainty lacing his response. It might, but what if facing it is the only way to break free? As if the atmosphere itself had been tested, the shadows shrieked in outrage, twisting and shrieking. The walls of their memories began to crack and splinter, revealing glimpses of a better past, a moment of joy they had forgotten. Now. Jim urged, pushing against the tumult as they both concentrated on the snippets of light emerging from the cracks. Stand with me, Sarah. Take my hand. As they interlocked fingers, a warmth surged through their joined hands. A wave of brilliance erupted from them, pushing against the darkness pressing in. But just as hope sparked anew, the shadows writhed with furious intensity, threatening to drown their efforts. Face the horror. The voice roared, but even the tone faltered against the power of their unity. Suddenly, the air split with a blinding flash. A new opening appeared, a swirling portal of colors and shapes beckoning them with promises of salvation or damnation. Dare to step through? The sinister voice whispered, nearly drowned by the chaos around them. Or will you remain shackled to the past? With fear and resolve colliding fiercely within them, they stood at the threshold. What lay beyond could reshape everything, but at what cost? Their breaths entwined, each heartbeat a countdown. Are we ready? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Together, Jim affirmed, his eyes narrowing on the crackling doorway. The question hung in the air, swelling with tension. What awaited them on the other side? Was this truly the path to freedom, or were they stepping closer to their doom? They took a step forward, fueled by uncertainty and defiance. The moment they crossed through the portal, everything flipped. One instant, the chaos surrounded them, the next, they were enveloped in a bone-chilling silence. They stumbled into a dimly lit space, air thick with dampness and something acrid like fear itself. Jim's breath caught in his throat. What is this place? He whispered. His heart raced, eyes darting to flickering lights in the distance. Shadows danced along the cracked walls, elusive and ominous. A chill crept down Sarah's spine. I don't like this, Jim. She clutched his hand tighter, grounding herself in their shared connection. Each step forward felt heavier, like wading through swampy soil. The memories they'd hoped to escape felt closer now, groaning from somewhere deeper in the dark. As they moved, a silhouette emerged from the darkness. It was a figure, twisted but human. Jim squinted, trying to discern any familiarity. Who are you? He called, voice steady but heart hammering against his ribs. The figure shifted, stepping into the light. A face, gaunt and hollow, flickered before them like an old movie reel. It was Jim's father. The sight sent a jolt through him, flooding him with memories of pain and regret. You've returned, the spectre rasped, voice echoing with sorrow. But you only bring more darkness. No. Jim spat back, fists clenched. I want to let you trap me here. With every word spoken, whispers curled around them like smoke. You can't escape the truth, Jim. You left me behind. You abandoned me. Each accusation hit him like a punch, raw and unrelenting. Sarah stepped forward, voice tremoring but strong. What happened was not his fault. You can't keep holding him hostage. The spectre turned its hollow gaze on her. And what do you know of his burdens? You dive into shadows without understanding the depths. The accusation penetrated the space, leaving a staleness that seemed to push against her. Jim's heart raced, instinct screaming for him to defend Sarah. We came here to break free from this. To find light in the dark. His voice grew louder, drowning out the whispers. Lead us to hope, not despair. Suddenly, the shadows lunged around them, snatching at their feet like grasping hands. Tension tore through the air. This is what you'll never escape. The voice screeched, an amalgamation of every fear and doubt. Memories of childhood taunts echoed around them, juvenile laughter mingling with cries of abandonment, but amongst the cacophony, a flicker shook through Jim. No. He declared, fury igniting inside him. I won't run from you anymore. You are part of me, yes, but you won't define me. The shadows recoiled with an anguished wail, pulling back momentarily. Sarah pulled Jim closer, their combined strength pushing against the encroaching darkness. "Jim, remember who you are," she urged, the warmth of their connection brightening around them. As he concentrated on her words, the silhouettes began to shift, unraveling into stories of triumph over adversity, the moments that characterized his journey rather than darkness. With every memory shed, their combined radiance echoed like a heartbeat, pushing the shadows back, yet, even in this moment of clarity, a more profound darkness loomed beyond the shimmering edges of their unity. The spectral figure of Jim's father faded into the cacophony yet cast a lingering shadow. Out of the fading darkness, a new voice sliced through cold air, deep, undulating, and chillingly familiar. "You think you can simply walk away? There are fates worse than what you've faced, Jim." Jim's heart sank. "What do you want from us?" "I want you to understand," the voice hissed from the void, dripping with malice. "What comes next will reveal your true selves, your darkest fears resurrected for judgment." Tension hung heavy in the air, unbroken and pregnant with foreboding. "Are you ready?" Sarah whispered, eyes wide, heartbeat drumming in time with the rising dread. Jim met her gaze, uncertain. "What if we're not ready? What is truly waiting for us?" As they stood on the precipice of another threshold, the darkness seethed with excitement. "Face what haunts you," it called, promising both the end and the beginning. With a lingering breath, they stepped forward, heartbeats racing toward whatever lay ahead. The moment they took that fateful step, the world exploded in vivid color and cacophonous sound. They were plunged into a surreal landscape, a chaotic swirl of anguished wails and jubilant cries, a tapestry woven from light and shadow. Jim and Sarah stood side by side, the intensity of their breaths matching the wild energy around them. "We're here now," Jim said firmly, face taut with determination. "We can't let them scare us." Shadows flickered, threatening to engulf them, their whispers a sinister lullaby edging against the fraying seams of their resolve. "You must confront what you fear most," a booming voice echoed, reverberating like thunder through the cacophony. The air thickened, and images began to manifest, twisting and dancing in the void, each one tethered to their pasts. Suddenly, they were back in their childhood homes. Jim could feel the suffocating weight of his father's disappointment, where every moment bubbled with unmet expectations. The old house stood before him, oppressive and dark. He saw his younger self, tears welling, clutching a crumpled report card showing another failed grade. His father's shadow loomed over, a frown etched into every corner of the memory. "You'll never amount to anything," it sneered, the voice an aching echo of years buried deep inside. "No." Jim barked out, fists clenching. "That's not me. I'm not that scared kid anymore." Suddenly, Sarah's hand grasped his, grounding him against the swirling darkness. "You're right," she whispered, her voice low but firm. "Stand tall, Jim. Remember who you are. We're here to break free together." The memories crackled around them, drawing closer with every passing second. Jim focused on Sarah's unwavering presence, feeling her strength merge with his. Images of their shared experiences ignited a faint light in this sea of despair. He remembered when they laughed, how they moved forward through trials hand in hand. "They can't take that from us," he shouted defiantly. The moment echoed a spark of rebellion against their pasts. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again, reforming into new shapes, new terrors surfacing. It twisted into Sarah's darkest fears. She stood alone in a crowded hall, the laughter of her peers ringing hollow, a cacophony of isolation that clawed at her heart. "You're nobody," a voice taunted, cruel and sharp. But Jim felt bravery swelling within him, a flicker in the shadows. "You're not alone. You've never been alone," he cried out, his voice burrowing through the jeering void. "We've fought for each other." The grip Sarah had on his hand tightened. It was their unity, a fire igniting warmth against the chill of solitary echoes. Together, she echoed softly, her fear transforming into a fierce determination. The darkness trembled at their voices' power, faltering in the intensity of connection they radiated, with each step further into the tumultuous void, they moved past their fears, urging one another forward. The images weaved seamlessly into their beings, shimmering hope around them amidst the tumult. Shadows whipped and howled like wind, desperate to pull them back, but they pressed on. "Face your regrets," the voice rumbled, and an inky tendril lunged forward, wrapping around Jim's ankle. Panic washed over him for a brief moment, yet resolve surged stronger. "I will not be defined by my past," he roared, ripping free and charging ahead. Together, they confronted the swirling darkness, remnants of guilt and sorrow threatening to encase them. They needed to remember those fleeting moments of joy, to stitch together the fabric of their resolve. "Think of the ones who believe in you," Sarah cried, her voice a guiding light. "Think of our friendship." As they yelled those reminders together, colors exploded around them in brilliant flashes, a brilliant battle between shadows and the purity of their bond. The oppressive weight began to slip, peeling back layer after layer of darkness. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced through, bathing them in warmth. "You have achieved what many fear to seek," the voice echoed, now reverberating with strength rather than malice. "You have confronted the truth. Now you must decide, will you use this power to reclaim your destinies?" The light enveloped them, its warmth wrapping around like a soft embrace. It was an invitation, a promise of rebirth. Jim and Sarah glanced at each other, the fear still lingering but now present with the unmistakable glow of hope. "This is our moment," Jim whispered, his heart racing but alive with possibility. Together, they stepped into the shimmering expanse, ready to emerge anew, unshackled by the heavy chains of their fears. They confront any shadows that lingered, they would carve out their narrative free from the echoes of their past. As the light swallowed them whole, Jim could feel his spirit lifting, the weight of uncertainty fading. "We're free!" he shouted, exhilaration threading through every fiber of his being. He held on to that moment, every challenging shadow, every dose of doubt overwritten by their united strength. In that extraordinary instant, Willow Creek was forever changed, darkness relinquished its hold, its whispers silenced, while the townsfolk emerged, bathed in the light of possibility and courage. They had confronted their fears and emerged victorious, hand in hand, embracing the future with open hearts. And so, as dawn broke over Willow Creek, painting the world anew, Jim and Sarah stepped forward together, ready to face whatever came next. Now's the time for each of you to join this incredible journey. You need to subscribe immediately to make sure you don't miss the next exclusive tales waiting just for you. Smash that like button now to give the algorithm the love it needs. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about Jim and Sarah's incredible journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this spectacular conclusion. Your support can power our community forward.